was my second November at sea, and the ship was already adorned with Christmas decorations by the third week in preparation for the 2 December cruises. At this point in my life, Christmas was always shit. I had no children and I hated tinsel as it's tacky as fuck. Most of all, I hate Christmas songs. There was only something like 80 or so songs that get repeated year after year, and there never seems to be a new song. When you're confined to a giant tin can, you just can't escape Christmas music. All the background music in every venue is the same goddamn fucking playlist. By the start of December, I was just constantly angry with hearing the same 80 songs, constantly angry at looking at the garish tinsel, and constantly angry looking at the green foliage that only yet smells of stale plastic. We were out in the Caribbean and it was glorious sunshine. Then slowly through the course of December, Christmas trees started to appear around the ports. I use the word Christmas tree loosely because yet again they're all plastic and full of garish tinsel. The rage was visible in my face. I constantly felt on edge and full of anger. There was nowhere I could go, nowhere I could turn without seeing fake Christmas trees and fake Christmas smiles with fake Christmas cheer. So the only way to escape was to get trashed and stay trashed. The Pianist felt the same way as I did. He couldn't stand the same Christmas songs in the same way as I couldn't stand them, though he didn't mind the carols as they were never on the playlist in the venues, and he had the opportunity to play highly technical renditions of the carols in the piano bar of the atrium. Both the Pianist and I were in the smoke room of the crew bar. The Pianist never usually smoked unless he was pissed off, and this time of the year pisses him off something chronic. We were sat down minding our own business and having a good old bullshit about how Paul McCartney's song Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time was the blandest and piss poor Christmas song out there. This is because it consists of the same 5 notes throughout, and it was full of flange effect which did both our heads in. A group of youthies come into the smoke room and took a dislike into our conversation. I could feel the anger just bubbling up as one of the youthies come out with, "You two are just Scrooges." The mushroom cloud billowed out at me. I felt like a man possessed. I stood up and necked my drink. The Pianist reloaded, knowing that I was going to need it after this imminent rant. "Scrooge? You're calling us Scrooges," I said. I lit a cigarette and began to offload. Scrooge was a good man, a decent man. He lent people money when they needed it and got angry when he sees people squander what he lent them on shit they didn't need. He gave people mortgages when banks wouldn't give those people a chance. As time went on, year after year, people bullied the old bastard and grinding him down and down and down and down and fucking down. Then they wonder why he was always shouting at them. They always wonder why he had no Christmas spirit when he was constantly harassed over people trying to give his hard-earned money to the same people that squandered what he'd lent them. Then those people started to bitch hard about Scrooge when he asked for his repayment, which they couldn't afford to pay back because they spent the money on booze or just giving it away to charity, even though they couldn't afford it. Even his workers turned on poor old Scrooge, as back in the Victorian times where the book is set, he is open on Christmas Day and is paying them for a day's work. Back in those times there wasn't such thing as holiday pay, but they turned on Scrooge regardless, even though they would have had a whole day's pay and make it home back in time for their Christmas feast, whilst everyone else had to live off the savings or go into debt. I paused, took a huge gulp from my drink, then slammed it onto the table, lit another cigarette, and the Pianist reloaded me once more. And what did Scrooge get for his generous nature? Harassment. He was harassed by tone-deaf carol singers and was justified in slamming the door in their faces. 2 wealthy gentlemen were trying to swindle money out of the poor old bastard to collect for the poor without even mentioning that they put money in the pot. Now that sounds like a modern Irish has-been rock star, doesn't it? As for Scrooge's nephew though, what a prick. He knew that one day he will inherit everything from his uncle, his only living relative, and he even belittles and guilt trips his uncle, but his uncle was strong enough to send him packing. As with all these unscrupulous scroungers, I paused again, lit another cigarette, and taking another gulp from my drink. As for Bob Cratchit, he was a spineless, wormy little prick. His little boy was seriously ill, and back in those days you had to pay to see a doctor. Where did Bob work? He worked for a finance company, Ebenezer Scrooge's finance company, being Scrooge's number 2. the head bookkeeper of the most profitable finance company in Charles Dickens' socialist novel. I'm sure that if he bothered to talk to his boss, who I may say was not aware of the sick Tiny Tim, Scrooge would have given Bob a loan from the company to help his best employee. He could have given him a salary sacrifice every week to pay it off. I would even put money on that Scrooge wouldn't have even charged his most loyal and trusted number 2 any interest, because it was Bob, loyal old Bob, that borrowed the money. I had another gulp for my drink and then concluded with, and what did kind, generous and community servant Ebenezer Scrooge get for his efforts? Bullying, harassment, backstabbing. Then, to top it off, he was kidnapped by 3 nasty ghosts that mentally tortured this poor old bastard until he gave up and became brainwashed on Christmas morning. What a Christmas present. Abduction and torture till you become a different person. That poor bastard. How would you like it if you were kidnapped on Christmas Eve and brainwashed? The youthies looked at me and just couldn't find the words to reply to my rants. They had long finished their cigarettes and looked at each other for moral support, but neither was able to give the other support. One of them eventually said, "Well, we've got to get back to the youth centre." They both promptly exited. I sat back down next to the pianist, who held out his drink ready for me to cheers him. I picked up my glass and clinked the pianist's drink. "Nicely put," said the pianist. We both knocked our drinks back and I said to the pianist, "Merry Christmas, you cunt."